Salut! This video is a bit different from my usual educational content on creating and running a business in France because I'm going to be sharing some trends taking place for expats moving to France or freelancing in France, as well as changes likely to happen in 2025. So don't worry, I'm not going to be a clairvoyant with my crystal ball. In France, we talk about Madame Irma the Clairvoyant. This episode was inspired by a couple of podcasters I listen to on a regular basis who actually do an assessment of what's going on in their sector, and I usually find them very insightful. I'm going to be doing the same based on my experience of working with freelancers for over 16 years and what I've noticed in 2024. So we can catch up at the end of 2025 to see if I was wrong. Let's see this as an experience. For those who don't know me, I'm Valerie Aston and I help expatriates prepare, create and manage their first freelancing activity in France so they can focus on enjoying their new lifestyle in France. The first trend is remote workers shifting to freelancers. It's never been easier to work from anywhere. If you have a specific skill, customers will work with you wherever you are based. And for many expatriates working remotely, this was a bit of a grey area. But post-COVID and post-Brexit, the French government has realized that many expatriates or freelancers are working locally without being fully declared and without paying the right taxes. I'm talking about many people on a long stay visitor visa while working as a freelancer abroad in their home country or still being employed in their home country. This is dodgy ground for anyone looking to stay in France for the long run and looking to switch to a business visa at some point or going for a residency card. I see more and more people having done their research and shifting to a proper freelancer setup as they don't want to jeopardize their long stay, integration and immigration to France. This shift is very important for people wanting to stay in France and in Europe on the long term. You need to have the right visa and pay the right taxes in the right country. The second trend is freelancers from Eastern Europe moving to France. Post-Brexit, many freelancers who used to be based in the UK are rethinking their location. It's now more difficult to move the UK because of the visa requirements, the income and savings, the family reunion issues, the uncertainty about how long you can stay, and therefore freelancers from Europe or former employees of UK businesses are looking at relocating to Europe and France instead. Being European, the only thing that they need is their passport or their national identity card plus a French address to register here in France. And I see many highly qualified freelancers and entrepreneurs, including programmers, developers, 3D image designers, customer support experts, moving to France. These entrepreneurs might start with a micro-entrepreneur and are very likely to move to a French incorporated business such as a SaaS in the medium term if they end up subcontracting to just one or two major UK companies. The third trend is the increase in full-time influencers and YouTubers. 2024 is the year where I've seen many expatriates successfully breaking YouTube. They start a channel to start sharing their journey in France or their special skills or hobby, and quickly, well, maybe just at least 1 or 2 years of publishing regular videos, they explode their subscribers and views. And what was initially seen as a hobby turns into a regular income or side income generator and needs to be declared in France. Yes, your YouTube income, even the sponsorships or the tips that are paid to you via Patreon are seen as income and need to be declared in one specific country based on your current visa or where you live. So make sure you include it in your business if you have one. I would say that it's still tricky to apply for a business visa for France with a YouTube channel or YouTube project because the French embassy thinks that it's a side income, but things are shifting. Make sure that if you have a YouTube channel or an online income in your home country, you declare it every year so that when you apply for a business visa for France, you will have an official proof of your regular income via your income tax declaration. This is a game changer when you are showing an official income. At least it's not fairy tales. You are showing for the last year or two, I've earned so much, and this is what's going to help support me once I move to France. If you use your YouTube channel income in your business visa application, explain your strategy to monetize it, the YouTube ad, the sponsorship, but also show extra services, for instance, coaching, courses, etc. And again, you want to show any kind of proofs, contracts of support that you might already have. The fourth trend is that trust and reliability is becoming more important. This one is an odd one because you might have heard this advice about social media. Trust is key in 2025. And I think that this is also true for business, for your business, and also for you as a business owner to decide who you work with. I can see more and more companies setting themselves up for visa services, relocation services, administration services, and we have a mixture of offers. Often they look like large companies, and once you start digging, they rely 80% of the time on local consultant in each country. I should know because I'm often asked to advise for France. If it looks too good to be true, it might be too good to be true. So a company who might be covering France, Spain, Italy, Cyprus, and so on, is very likely that they are relying on local experts, or they may not have the expertise in-house. So you have to be careful, because when you apply for a visa, you need some advice on the visa, the legal structure, the taxes, the local regulation, and the local business setup. So that's a lot to cover. And on the opposite range of the spectrum, we often have a one-person business providing administrative services based on their own experience. So their visa application, their micro-entrepreneur registration, their house purchase, and I don't feel very confident with that kind of approach, as they're kind of discovering things with you, except that they speak a bit more French and they understand the French system a bit better. So be careful who you choose to work with. Choose a company that has been around for a while with some good customer feedback. And I'm not talking about a 4-star ranking on Google that was gathered over the last 2 months. For instance, last year I've seen a company with a 4-star ranking while they had just liquidated their French business at the end of 2024. The fourth trend that I see is that applying for a business visa is like borrowing 50,000 euros from the bank. Yes, I know most of you will self-finance your business project and often your property purchase in France. But if you need to apply for a business visa, visa profession libérale, visa talent, carte de séjour entrepreneur profession libérale, the expectation for your visa application dossier is similar to the one of a banker. They want to see a business plan, financial plan over 3 years, proof of support, proof of income, details about your legal structure choices and taxes. And you wouldn't apply for a 50,000 business loan with a 2-page slide made in Canva. So you have to prove that you know what you are talking about, you have experience and the right strategy, your financial situation is healthy, and your sales projection and profit look realistic. And to me, this is no different from the dossier I used to work with French entrepreneurs when they were borrowing 50 to 150,000 euros from the bank to launch their business. We were preempting any potential issue, especially looking at the French industry and sector rules, profitability and break-even point after taxes, breaking down their sales targets into average orders so the bank manager could see whether or not it was feasible based on the context that they had. I'm not saying this to scare you, this is feasible. I just want you to have the right expectation. And if you need help with this, you can look at my French business visa. I'll add the link below the video where you have access to a course where I explain how to prepare all this, and you also have one-to-one coaching with me. So let me bring you back to reality. Your business plan is read by a human at the Ministère de l'Intérieur and for the French embassy, or at least for now. And they're going to be rolling their eyes like a French person, or turning a blind eye to an 80-page document of a very bland, very ready text generated by AI and then translated to French. Why? Because when you do your business plan in English and then you use another tool to translate it into French, it's like ×2 in terms of blurb, and French is a more direct language, so when it's very wordy and flowery, we just don't like it. I've seen a few AI-generated business plans in 2024, and I had to embarrassingly ask, did you write it with AI by any chance? Because I know what you do, and when I read your business plan, I don't have a clue what your services are, and it looks fake. Okay, I didn't quite say it like this, but you get the gist. I've noticed a sudden rise of 10 pages of service descriptions step by step, which in the past people actually struggle with. They don't necessarily add value to your business plans. Keep it short and illustrate what you do. I'm actually a big fan of portfolios, press release, awards you might have won, articles in the press, because they speak a ton. And you know the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So think twice before you start prompting ChatGPT. What do you want to use it for, and what is the most efficient way? So probably it's using it for the market trends, which is the tricky part, but ask it to mention the reports and sources because it looks more professional than if you state numbers and we got no clue where they came from. The next trend is that the French government is pushing for more professionalism. We've started to see more of this in 2024, especially for the Gites and AirBnb, and now even the new VAT threshold that they've been introducing at 25,000 euros, and we are only in early February. The French government is trying to push some businesses to move up to the next regime, so réel simplifié or moving to a French incorporated business, EARL, SARL, SAS, SASU, so that they're more controlled, they have an accountant, and we have more reliable numbers. It's also slowly introducing new rules about invoicing, which will impact micro-entrepreneurs in 2027 with electronic invoicing, when you will need to have a specific software for invoicing. So this is not necessarily bad news, and I will cover this later on because we've got more time to prepare for this. So make sure you subscribe to the videos because I will talk about these topics on a regular basis. All of this is to say that things are slowly changing and you need to keep a track of your numbers. You need to keep up to date with these new rules, and the clue is by subscribing to my YouTube channel or my newsletters, as I regularly cover this topic and actually say how they impact you as an expat and entrepreneur in France. Plus, at the end of each year, you need to double check if it's time for you to move up to a different regime. And you might have to do this in order to earn more income. So part of my answer for this topic is that without numbers, i.e. tracking your expenses, it will be very hard for you to make a decision. So make sure that in 2025, you start tracking your expenses too, so that by the end of the year, we can decide what works best for you. And I usually recommend booking a power hour, so then we can compare what you have now with the next setup to see what it's time to move. Trend number 7 is the increase of retreat-based businesses. Now we are back into more fun trends. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, the rules about Gites and AirBnb in France are changing and impacting expatriates too. Moving to France with a Gite or Airbnb business, you need to show that this is a full-time business and not just a top-up income. This often means adding extra activities, and for many expats, this could be retreats, which is an easy option. So it will tend to be based on your passion or hobby. For instance, writing retreat, yoga retreat, painting, cooking, cycling, wine tours is like endless, provided you do those extra activities. This is fine because you are handling both the accommodation and the activity itself. All of these are great to increase your bookings in the lower season and to prove that you have a full-time business. I've seen significant increase in these projects in 2024 and expect to see even more in 2025. Trend number 9 is castles and manors being hubs for the art and creativity. I'm very excited about this because not only are castles and manors being restored, but they are being shared with others. In 2024, I've seen an increasing number of chateaux being open to artists and creatives, for instance, as artist retreats or co-working spaces, where you book a room, you might have access to a studio, and you might take part to workshops as well as share dinners with other artists for a few weeks. It's also called a résidence d'artistes in France. And I've also seen a few projects for art schools for students in France. It brings chateaux back to their original life, where they were a place to socialize, but also a place to showcase art. As I mentioned before, the rules are changing for expatriates planning to run a Gite or Airbnb business in France. It's actually changing for everyone, and we'll need to go for a bit more of an advanced setup very soon. For now, the micro-entrepreneur is still okay, provided you get classified with Atout France, but it's likely to change or shift in the next budget, and I'm talking about the budget 2025 and 2026. I would expect that soon the most appropriate legal structures for the Gites and Airbnb businesses will become the EARL and SARL for those requiring an investment or who have high expenses. And for non-resident, it's likely that you might go for an SCI, where we go for the incorporated tax, but make sure you create the SCI before you buy the purchase. These are tougher to set up, manage and understand, but they will be more efficient tax-wise, provided you understand your taxes and you save enough money for your taxes. The last trend is expatriates moving to France from Portugal and Italy. In some countries like the US, Portugal, Spain, Italy are very popular because visas are easier to get. However, Portugal is becoming more selective to get in because they have internal pressure with increased property prices as foreigners are buying a home in order to get visas. And Italy is also becoming tougher since Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni came to power, being tougher on immigration in general and asking for higher income for expats moving in. And I know that France is seen as a very administrative country, but in 2024, I've seen more people moving to France from Italy and Portugal because they were fed up with the slowness of administrative processes in Portugal and the multi-layered rules in Italy because of the commune, the region and the state. I'm therefore expecting more expats who've already moved to one European country to move to another country. And I guess once you've done it once, it's just easier to do it again. This leads to my final note on the fact that the business that you will create needs to be flexible and probably more service-based so that you can take it with you if you go to another country or if you move back home. If you've noticed other trends, don't hesitate to add them in the comments so that we can start talking about them. And if you want to know my top 10 activities registered for expats as micro-entrepreneurs in France in 2024, I would suggest that you watch this next video so you can see what other expats are creating in France. Salut, à bientôt!